Hey guys, Jason again from Jtrain Fitness here to give you another video blog post today because I've been getting a lot of excellent feedback from you guys for these videos. And I actually got a request to do another video that I actually couldn't get to today because I'd already had a topic lined up. But I guess I'll be making another one in the near future, so be on the lookout for that. But what I wanted to talk about today were the shoulders. And the shoulders are a very extremely important muscle group. And I feel like they're also a very underrated muscle group. They're important because when it comes to biological structures, right? The more mobility you put into a biological structure, the more vulnerable it will be to stress and force. So if you look at your shoulder, it can do a lot of movements and it's responsible for a lot of mobility. So it's also very open to being injured. So it's very important that you work it out because you want it to be strong. And it's responsible for so many different things that, like, if you do injure your shoulder, you're out of the gym for like such a long time, and your workout suffers so tremendously from that. I don't know if you've ever talked to anybody in your gym, but I've talked to a bunch of people in the gyms that I've worked out at that actually had shoulder injuries, and having those shoulder injuries actually put them out for like half a year. Because they really just couldn't work out. They couldn't do anything with their upper body because the shoulder is attached to everything and it's responsible for moving a lot of things. It's one of those muscle groups that, like, whenever you do any muscle group that's in your upper body, it's going to be used. So the shoulders are very important for that reason. Also, the shoulders are very important from an aesthetic standpoint. I went to the University of Florida, and they had a fantastic, like, awesome big gym. A lot of people my age and a lot of people I know are still in college or university, so you might know this, or you might know somebody who does know this. But I always remember that when I walked into when I worked out, you'd always have the frat guys come in. You knew they were like the frat guys because they'd have their frat-tastic, like, neon shirts cut like, they like to cut them. There's a way that they cut them, and they'd have, like, alpha, sigma, gamma, alpha, pi, omega, zeta, zeta, zeta. I don't know. I wasn't in a fraternity, so I'll stop poking fun of them. But one way that you also knew who they were because they'd have really, like, nice expanded chests and big, like, triceps, but, like, from their neck to their tricep, like, there'd be, like, no development. It'd be, like, straight, like, neck to arm, and it just kind of looked like they had, like, these pieces of, like, tricep meat just, like, dangling from their neck. And the reason for that was because a lot of times when I saw, these people coming to the gym, they would never work out shoulders, and it would just be bench press all the time, 24/7, bench press for days, like, non-stop. They would always work out bench press, and what they got, the consequence of that was that they had, like, nice developed chests for the most part, and they'd have nice developed, like, triceps from doing using the bench press machine like this. But they would never work out shoulders, and so what happened was, like, their aesthetic was, like, completely, like, not maximized. Now I think that I feel like my shoulders are pretty well developed because I've been working them out, like, my whole time doing this, and it completes the aesthetic, like, and I feel like it gives more of a look when they're developed that wouldn't be there if I didn't work them out. I guess they're underrated and people don't really think about them because when you walk into a place, a lot of times you won't hear people be like, "Man, look at that guy's shoulders," or anything like that. You'll notice arms, you'll notice a big chest, but, like, you don't think about how important the shoulder is from an aesthetic standpoint. So that's another reason why shoulders are important. But I like to focus, I guess, more on the technicality of, like, developing shoulders, ways you can develop them, tips that I've found that really helped my shoulder workouts. So I guess let's get into it. I got a diagram here. So your shoulder is made of, like, three parts. You have the anterior deltoid fiber. So the whole shoulder is the deltoid, but it has three sets of, like, important fibers. the anterior, which is the front, the medial, which is the middle, and the posterior, which is in the back. And it's important that you work out all three of those muscle fibers. And the reason for that is because when you have any muscle group that's more developed than the muscles around it, it's going to do something that I call bullying that muscle. So so think of it as like big, and anytime it moves or anything like that, if the muscle next to it is smaller, it's going to jerk more wildly, or it's going to feel more stress. And what you have in turn is the underdeveloped muscle groups feel strained, and they feel tight, and they feel worn out. And that's the case with a lot of people with shoulders, is because they do a lot of exercises that work the front, the anterior deltoid fibers, but they don't focus on the middle and the back, the rear delt, which they have to. Not just should, like they have to, because when you have an overdeveloped front delt, it's going to pull, and your posture is going to do this, and you're going to not really think about it, and then suddenly the back of your shoulder is strained, and you're wondering why. That's why. So first tip I would give you when working out shoulders is to work out all three sides, all three parts. So hit it from all those angles. And one way you can do that is doing motions that activate the front, doing lateral raises that activate the middle, and then doing like rear flies that activate the back. So when you're building a shoulder workout, make sure that you're hitting every single part of the shoulder. And I'll get to that in a second. I have my remote dumbbell here again. And one thing you might see in the gym a lot, you've probably seen it at least one time, when people are working out shoulders, they'll do this exercise, which is the shoulder press. And it's a good exercise. But watch what happens when I turn this angle. And I didn't exaggerate this. I'm still doing the up and down that I just did. But do you see what's wrong with this? Yeah, the line of drive is going like forward almost. And that works like the front, yeah, sure. But what about the rest of the shoulder? Like, because you're trying to work out this, not just the front and some of your chest. You don't want to do that. If you want to get a complete shoulder workout, what I would suggest in pretty much every shoulder workout, every shoulder exercise, you want to try to take your shoulder blades, squeeze them, but also make sure your line of drive is like behind your ear. And you'll feel it if you're doing it right. It'll feel like your shoulder is what I like to call, it's like it's loaded. You're loading your shoulder. It's almost like a spring. It'll feel like a spring about to like wanting to bust up. And that's probably the biggest tip I would give you with shoulders, to make your line of drive behind you. Because a lot of times, again, like people do, even with lateral raises, they'll go like forward. And that works just like the front part of your shoulder, and you're not focusing on the the back parts. And I mean, that might also be bad form, because maybe you're not putting the stress on the whole muscle, just like parts of it. So that's the biggest tip when you're doing shoulder presses, lateral raises. You want to go like backwards, and then obviously with rear delt flies, you want to go backwards. And then all these, try touching your shoulder blades. That helps as well. So another tip that I would give you when you're working out shoulders is you have to do a complete shoulder workout with exercises that work every single angle. And one way you can do that is, you have your shoulder press, which works the frontal part of your deltoid pretty well. Try doing lateral raises as well, which is the exercise that when you see people do this. When you're doing those, though, make sure again that you're kind of, I guess, lean forward a little bit. You get your shoulder blades pinched, and you keep your arms straight, and you go backwards. All right, and you'll feel the middle to the back of your shoulders get activated, and that'll work the middle part of the shoulder. For the back of your shoulder, of course, we can do rear fly. So a regular fly is on the machine, the chest fly machine, where you go like this. A lot of them you can adjust the arms to where you can do it backwards. And when you do these, you want to go all the way, keep squeezing, and you see that like my rear delt is being like activated. And hold that, and then bring it back slowly. And those kinds of movements will give you a nice complete shoulder workout. You can also do exercises like shrugs if you want to work out your traps, and maybe more front raise, exercise that work the front of the deltoid. But again, the important thing is that you hit all three parts with good with good exercises. To keep your shoulder, one thing that I will say about the shoulders specifically is that you have to prevent injury with them, because if you bust them up, you are in deep trouble. If I had to pick any muscle group to get injured, the last one I would pick would be shoulders. So if you ever, this is I guess my final tip to you. It might be the most important tip too, is if you ever feel like your shoulder strain is something that's not like normal, that it's like deep, that it's in the joint, that like when you're moving it, like things are just don't feel right. I'm all for intensity, and I'm all for no excuses and pushing things to the limit. But sometimes you got to listen to your body. And there have been weeks where I just rested shoulders because it was that bad. But the next week I was fine because I rested it for a week. I'd much rather lose a week than lose like 6 months of progress. So those are some tips that I would give you for shoulders that I can think of right now. Make sure you're safe. That shoulders don't need a lot of weight, so you can lift pretty well. I mean, always push your maxes if you can do them. But shoulders don't need too much weight to really stimulate them. They'll get stimulated if you're doing your workouts right and you're doing a nice amount of weight and you're doing it safely. So try those tips. Let me know maybe in the comments section how you like them. Visit my blog and keep dominating your gym exercises. All right, guys, have a fantastic day.